Welcome back to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers. And I'm so glad you're here today because we are going to be talking about dementia and so much more. So please stay tuned in today. Uh, Dementia statistics tell us that you either know somebody with dementia personally or you've heard of someone who has cognitive decline or a memory impairment. In fact, I just read a statistic yesterday that said that dementia is the fifth leading cause of death in the United States. Unfortunately, it seems like it's 1 in 5 for men, but it's 1 in 10 for women. But regardless of the statistics and what we think we know about dementia, my guest and I have a wealth of knowledge and experience, and what we hear pretty much every day is that it's really hard to communicate with somebody who has dementia. Family members want to communicate with someone who has dementia. Caregivers want to provide good care for someone with dementia, but sometimes it's just hard to interact and create connection. And we're just not built knowing these things. And so that's why I'm so glad Ann Marie Mohr from Project Present is with me today because the person with dementia really does want to make a connection too. Everybody has a story to tell. And when you can create and tap into that experience, you're going to have a better interaction and believe me, a better day if you can. But you need to learn some tips and tools from a professional that has been there and done that so that you can be successful with your family member or the person you know, or maybe a friend of yours who needs to listen to this podcast. So, Ann Marie Mohr is the executive director of Project Present, and she founded this not for profit, but she's also a professor at Washington University, and she teaches acting, improvisation, and embodied communication, which are the nonverbal cues such as facial expression or body language that contribute to communication. But she is also a certified dementia practitioner and she has performed nationally and internationally in her career. So we are so glad to have her today with us. Now, many of you know that I came into the healthcare field outside without any former knowledge, and the first people that I worked with were nurses. We were providing skilled medical home health in the home as well as non-medical home care to folks that were living at home or they were living in an independent living community. And I would hear the nurses talk about reality orientation, sometimes called RO. And sometimes I think we practice this unknowingly, unwittingly with folks that do have dementia. And it is a care technique designed to help individuals who are exhibiting some cognitive impairments to maintain a sense of time, a sense of place, maybe even who the people are in the room. Usually there's cues to say today is Friday and it is 2 o'clock in the afternoon and this is what we are doing right now. And sometimes that can be really effective and sometimes it can be very detrimental in later stages. Anne Marie, please say hi to my listeners. And I just love to hear from your experience, what your thoughts about reality orientation are, and maybe some things that you've witnessed about it, because definitely it has its place. We see people putting sticky notes up all over people's houses, drink your water, take your meds, take out the trash, that kind of thing. What are your thoughts after you say hello to my listeners?
Yeah, hello. Thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be here today. But yes, yeah, I think I see a lot with reality orientation. Probably a lot of stress, agitation, and conflict can occur. You see this happening, right? Because, we really want to, we think we're helping our loved one, like, no, this is what is happening. But I think that understanding of that the individual that you are caring for that is living with some sort of neurodegenerative disease, a brain disease, the brain is changing. So their truth and reality is also changing. So they really truly believe whatever it might be. So an example could be I was working with a caregiver once, and uh, she said that every night her husband was on the beaches of Alabama. And she would
Okay.
say to him, "No, we're not. We're in our living room." And he would get very upset, right? His truth, his reality was he was on those beaches of Alabama. And so conflict would occur between the two of them. So she finally, I think, I forget how many nights this occurred, but then she sort of just accepted one night that they were on those beaches and we didn't have the conflict ensue. Her husband was right there, she was right there, and they were sort of sitting on those beaches together in their living room. So I think, we see it in lots of different occasions. If we can meet the person with their truth or reality and accept where they are, we tend to have a lot less stress, conflict, and agitation occur because the individual truly believes that. And as the caregiver, you're able to accept and understand that because your brain is like that full forest of trees that is working for you. Whereas someone living with dementia, I kind of create this like image, right? The brain, if it's a forest of trees, those trees are slowly starting to die off. So what we see happening is brain changes, and those brain changes occur and can have things impact, your reality and what you believe truly to be. So I think that is a little example. I can share more, but that, yeah, would be where I would start.
Yes, and I think we sometimes forget, and because I don't work with dementia people every single day, but there's a lot of anxiety in a diagnosis like this. The recognition that things are changing in the brain, not being able to express yourself as you used to be able to express yourself, not to be able to find that connection with another person, and also just being disregarded. Like they have dementia. So
Right.
just, put them over there, let them take care of themselves. They'll be fine. So I totally agree with you that we see that joining them in that journey
Hmm.
takes a little bit more effort, but the benefit for the person with dementia and the caregiver, as you discussed, is good. So here's an example that I have heard of and have seen witnessed. And so maybe somebody else has had this experience in their family or with someone that they know. But when we practice reality orientation, this can be one of the results from that. So my example is Fern. And Fern suffers from some cognitive decline. She's getting about mid to late stage dementia. And she tells her family that she needs to go and pick up her husband's shirts from the dry cleaners, and she needs to go now. And she's looking for her keys, and she's getting agitated, and she's getting upset because she doesn't have keys anymore. Plus, she doesn't know where she left them. So things are starting to escalate. And her family, who is with her at this time, is looking from one to the other like, okay, dad's been dead for 3 years. This is not good. Mom's going off the wall about going to the dry cleaners. Where is this coming from? And then one bold family member says, Mom, I, I Dad died 3 years ago. And Fern loses it because Fern doesn't remember that John died 3 years ago. And now there's tears and there's more anxiety. And she thinks she missed her husband's death. And so think about that playing out in your own living room with your own loved one. And that would cause you to really think hard and long about how you're going to handle these questions or these situations when they occur in your own family. Or in your career field, or maybe you work in a business and somebody with dementia comes in and is talking to you, and all of a sudden you realize that their reality is not the same as yours. So we've got to be prepared for that in our world where we live. So enter Project Present. Anne Marie, the founder, please share how your performance, your improv, your background, your knowledge, your experience led you into this new way to communicate with dementia, with folks who've been diagnosed with dementia or cognitive decline, and then how you launched Project Present. I imagine it was a process.
It was, yes, yeah. I used to have a business, so I'll try to make this a short version to answer that.
That's okay.
a business called More Improv. So I would work with just different teams, businesses, organizations, really trying to improve communication, team building, collaboration within an organization. And there's a larger nonprofit here in town called Memory Care Home Solutions, and they had hired me in to train their staff. And so they specifically work with caregivers and individuals living with dementia. But I was coming in simply to train their staff on some communication practices and collaborative training. And afterwards, the executive director asked me, she's like, have you ever thought about your work in the field of like caregiving and dementia? And I really think about my work, how it connects really to any time human beings are connecting with each other. But I had never thought about the connection to, Alzheimer's, dementia, brain disease, caregivers. But then I got weirdly obsessed and I started, doing research, seeing what was being done at Northwestern University. They were doing something called the Memory Ensemble. So they were having improv sessions with individuals living with dementia. So I reached out to, there was a physician and then a theater practitioner, and I got in contact with them and started learning about what they were doing. I saw there were other things just sort of happening. And I, ended up kind of fast forwarding a wee bit. I, went to the Knight Alzheimer's Disease Research Center at WashU, and I got to go through the physician's training program. And I created a couple of different programs and went back to Memory Care Home Solutions and said, do you want to, partner? And so they were lovely and said yes. So they kind of allowed me to provide some programming for their clients. And we received a grant from the Regional Arts Commission. And so we had these 4-week communication trainings for caregivers. Then we had improv sessions for people living with dementia. Then we had improv sessions for people living with both dementia and their caregiver. And so things just kind of progressed. And about a year and a half or so later, I started Project Present as its own sort of 501c3, so that we are now, it's been since 2018, and we're now, offering, really 4 different types of programming. And you heard my dog there. She's excited for this as well. So yeah, we have 4 different types of programming that we offer now, and yeah, it's been very exciting. So yeah, a path I did not expect to be on, but then realizing I think that caregiver caring for someone is a creative process. And I think caregivers are improvising on the daily, right? Things change day to day, hour to hour, literally moment to moment. So caregivers are already improvising. So what we wanted to do is provide those caregivers with the tools, to help them do what they are already doing. And this is actually like a field. It's called applied improvisation. This is not, I'm not making it up. It's, an international network where we have these people take the guidelines and skills that are inherent in the craft of improv, and they apply them to other groups, to other organizations, to other individuals, to really benefit those individuals. And so I've taken improvisation and I'm applying it to this population because I think it really connects to what caregivers and people living with dementia are facing daily. And we have these different programs that I think meet people at where they're at, to provide services of support, to provide services of connection, and really training people how to communicate more effectively.
So that is incredible. The connection between theater, improvisation, but then also the art of communication, right? And then how we're going to do that. And how are we going to do that when communication is impaired in one way or another? But I have to be honest, my background is ballet. And so very structured, very methodical. And so everything is planned out. And so that's the world in which I grew up in and did not want to be in theater, although I love performing. And you say improvisation, and immediately I start getting nervous because yeah, thinking on the fly is hard, correct?
Hmm. Yeah, yes. You know what? I'm so glad you said that because sometimes I'm like, we need to rebrand because that word, right? When we hear that word, that's why I always have to stress it does. I mean, it makes me feel a little bit of anxiety and terror, just the thought, because I think we have this connotation of being put on the spot, having to be funny, right? Witty banter all in the moment. And I like to stress that this work is all about taking these guidelines and skills, about getting out of your head, of truly being present, really listening to both the verbals and nonverbals, yes anding, and making others look good. If I break it down into the five guidelines, it's like, oh, that feels more comfortable than I'm improvising. It's because I think you're right. That is a scary word, but I think it's really focusing on the application and using these tools and skills just to be more effective. And if we understand them as tools and skills that we can learn, that we can practice, and that are going to reduce our stress and improve our connection, it's like, oh, it's actually, oh, this isn't so crazy or scary. We do have improv sessions, though, that are just purely improv for individuals. And the rules of those sessions are there are no mistakes, everything you say is brilliant, and we yes and everything. So when you have those rules, it is the most beautiful place to be because
Big
yeah,
sigh
I
of
mean,
relief.
yes, it is for everyone, right? That's why we love using this with folks living with dementia because an individual living with dementia is told no a lot, right? No, you can't do that anymore. No, I'm sorry, you can't have that. No, no, no. And they feel very inadequate, right? There's
Yes.
isolation, depression, feelings of
They're always
inadequacy.
doing the wrong thing. People know that as their social filter, that they're always doing the wrong thing, and then they start feeling worse about themselves, right?
Exactly. Right, right. And that's why we really love this. Like our improv sessions are like the counter to that because everything you say and do is brilliant. We yes and everything, and there are no mistakes. And it is a lovely place to be because we really focus on that in our improv sessions, like really allowing people to have that creative outlet when they think like I'm not creative, but then all of a sudden they're saying something, they're working with others, and it's really amazing that connection. And we've been studying this for years. We use this Yang smiley face scale. So we have people come in at the beginning of a session and we see, there's five different faces from very sad to very happy, and they'll note what they're feeling at the beginning and then again at the end. And it is amazing the mood, how much we see mood improve in individuals. And perhaps for someone living with dementia that comes to a session, people are like, oh, they probably forgot about the session. If they did, that's fine, but the mood is what stays. And that's what we
Yes.
care about, right? That feeling or mood is there. If you're in a good place, that good place has a ripple effect on your caregiver, on your, other people you're around. So we're really excited about that mood and attitude, that contagious energy that is positive is really what it's about.
That's amazing because I know that the role of a caregiver, whether you're at home or whether you're working in a community, is really hard role. So anytime that you see that the residents are, or the participants or the patients are engaged and are happy, you've had a great day. It makes everything so much easier. So now that Anne Marie told me that I'm not going to do anything wrong and everything I say is going to be wonderful, I'm going to use our example again. And the one I gave you about Fern, who said she had to go to the dry cleaners and get her shirts for her husband. But this time we're going to do it a little bit different. Instead of having the bold person telling me that my husband is gone, Anne Marie's going to use her techniques to guide me out of my anxious state. So are we ready, Anne Marie?
Right. Yes.
Okay, okay. Oh my goodness, I've got to find my keys. I've got to get somewhere. I have to, where are my keys? Where's my purse? Oh my goodness, I don't have my shoes on. Well, I have to go. I don't know what to do first. I don't know whether to get my keys or my purse, and I can't find anything. Can somebody help me look for my keys and my purse? I need to go. I need to go. I need to go now. I have to go get John's shirts. He needs them. Can somebody help me? Please, I've got to go.
Yes. Yeah, I can help you.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, good,
Yeah.
good. Please help me. Please help me. I've got to go. He needs these right now.
Right. I think, yeah, there's so much that's going on. Maybe, what we should do is let's write down a list because there's so much that you have to do.
Oh,
And
yes.
right,
Okay.
and I'll get us a cup of tea and we can sit down and write
Oh,
down a list
I
and
like tea. I like
okay.
tea, but
Yeah.
I'm so glad you can help me. I can't do it. I can't do it on my own.
Yeah, I know. It feels very overwhelming
It
right now.
is. I
Yeah.
need, I
Yeah.
need help. I need somebody to help me. Can you help me go now? Can you help me?
I will help you. I'm going to help you. And I think what we need to do is let's just take a moment because I feel, I know. Oh, great. Let's breathe. Yes, that's a great tool, breathing. I love that. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I needed that breath. I didn't think I thought I was going to pass out.
Good. Well, let's just sit and let's get ourselves a little more. We can figure out what we need to do and then we'll go from there. But I'm here to help.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So immediately when Anna Marie listened to me, I felt like I had somebody who could help. And you know, this situation is something that's repeated every single day in many, many households. I've got to go. I've got to go now. I've got to go looking for my children. I've got to go get the cows out of the field. I need to go to the store.
Hmm.
And you just gave me the breath I needed and the acknowledgement that you were going to help and not the no's. I did not hear one no. So you're good. No, we can't go now. No, we can't do this.
Well, I think that's like, yeah, meeting right. You were at the end of you were feeling very, that agitation, that stress. So sometimes we might not always understand what the person is even saying. That we might be confused, but we can connect on the emotional level. Like, I see you're very frustrated because that's a very validating comment. People need to feel seen and heard and understood. And sometimes if the person's like, I got to do this, the cows, the milk, and you're like, I might not know what they're talking about. But if we can connect on the emotional level, that can be a real point of connection that can really help reduce some of that stress. So I think seeing that you were very agitated and stressed, we could connect there, but also accepting. And obviously, we didn't really have to get into, but saying like that your husband had already passed away, that is just bringing up pure trauma for someone to experience that truth or that reality all over again. So that would be something, right, we would want to obviously avoid. And like I've said, like it's really a spectrum of how you can use these tools. This a tool we use is called yes and. So it's accepting and building from the reality of what the person is coming from. So yes, I know you need to leave, and I'm going to be here to support you. But we can use this in all sorts of different ways of really accepting and building from where the person's coming from, like the Alabama beaches from the caregiver earlier story. And we can also use it in situations where people are, dealing with something maybe even more challenging. I've had people say, well, I could easily be on the beaches of Alabama. My mom has horrible hallucinations, and you want me to use yes and for that? And I'm like, yes, I do.
And
But yes. And once again, though, it's connecting on the emotional. So if you're, I mean, I think all of us, if someone was dealing with a horrible hallucination, we'd probably know that there's nothing there. Don't worry, it's fine, is our immediate reaction. But for this person who might be seeing something that is terrifying, to tell them that it's not there, that's only going to escalate, the feelings because they see that. That is their truth. So I think what we can use is yes, I know you're terrified and I'm here. Yes, this is really scary and it's going to be okay. So, still, that yes and tool can be used to really meet the person where they are and build. So, just kind of giving different examples because I know everyone has a different sort of comfort level as to how to, like you said, improv or approaching things. For some people, they feel like they are lying to their loved one. But I think when we start understanding that we're accepting the truth and reality of the individual and meeting them where they are, and we're living in that truth with them, then it is a real connection. It's really maintaining integrity of that person.
yes, and because sometimes exit seeking is a problem, Anne Marie redirected me to the kitchen table, which was away from where I was desperate to get to and back to some other place so that people probably really didn't even realize that you were doing that. But that is something that we have to do sometimes with our loved ones or in communities. We have to redirect away from the exact place that they want to go and then begin a new conversation so that now we're making a list, we're checking the time of it. And I'm sorry, I didn't remember that those shirts needed to be picked up. What did your husband do? And sometimes they're going to be able to answer those questions and sometimes not. I don't know, but he traveled a lot and I took his shirts and, sometimes he'd take me out. I mean, all of a sudden you're going into some other place in the conversation. And now the door is not important. The keys aren't important. The purse isn't important. The shoes are not important. The shirts are not important, but certainly it does take time to validate and connect and communicate with people. So, reality orientation can be helpful in the very early stages where you still have the ability, somebody can still read a sticky note, although we know that people stop looking at sticky notes. Maybe buying a clock or something that would help them to know the day, the time, maybe even speak the hour to them. But there's going to be a time and a place where the reality orientation may not be effective. What about your techniques, Anne Marie? Is there a stage at which they all work, every stage, or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think really kind of if we think of it as meeting the person where they are, it'll be really working through all of the stages. So, because unfortunately, I think that's one of the reasons why we use improv is there's so much inconsistency when we're dealing with dementia. It's
Yes.
not as clear of a road. It's not like, well, this will happen and then this will happen. So, you're really having to learn to apply these skills in the moment and just have these tools to use when you feel like it'll work for you. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Having, labels in your home can be very helpful, but then you start realizing those are no longer serving. So then we have to move on to other strategies and techniques. So it's kind of always, like I say, kind of being able to be flexible is one of the key pieces, and that's what we try to teach in these sessions and workshops that we do. Is that I think caregivers really like tap into their creativity as well as their flexibility, as well as their ability to let go of control. I think is where we see people having more success at using and applying the techniques, because I love control. Oh my gosh, I love my list, I love my control, my agenda. But it's like, when anytime you're working with another human being, we have to learn to give that up, because you never know what someone is going to offer. So we really have to, I think, then when caring for someone living with dementia, is on another level of letting go. And that can be really difficult. But I think we can have a lot more success and reduce our own stress when we learn to do that. So I think these overarching guidelines, I think I mentioned before, just like kind of getting out of our head, which is the hardest one by far,
Yes.
right? And that one, I think caregivers are up there all the time because they're worrying, what's going to happen? What am I going to do? Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I can't believe I did that. Oh, now he's going to, right? And we have this spiral and this flurry of worry, I call it. But normally, when we're up here and all of that is going on, we have to just ask ourselves, is this serving me? Most of the time it's not.
Right.
Most of the time it's what it's doing is it's keeping you up here, it's raising your stress levels, it's making you feel yucky, and it also doesn't allow you to be present with the person that you're with. And what we do know is that sort of presence, engagement, and energy and attention really helps connection, really helps communication practices. So when we can have that presence, when we can listen, and I always talk about not just listening to the verbals because those change, but
Right.
the nonverbals are our most honest form of communication, right? And that's 80% of our communication is done nonverbally. So I love that because I think it gives you the opportunity. You can always communicate or connect with your loved one living with dementia, even when perhaps they are speaking their own language or you really can't understand them, but we can read their nonverbals and see, oh, they're sad, or oh, I can tell they're frustrated or excited, because we can read so much through nonverbals. So I think that's a huge piece of these guidelines, as well as then moving into this yes and accepting and building, and then making others look good. So those are the 5 guidelines. I feel like I'm trying to remember your question. I'm sorry, I went
That's
on.
okay. So you did a great job and you hit everything. I'm going to go back to the sentence you said about when we're trying to utilize these techniques to redirect and to communicate, that sometimes we feel like we're not honoring the person who they were. So today I talked to an engineer. He actually invented foam board. He wasn't demented, but the point being is that this is a smart engineer. And I mentioned to him that in the day program, I had met a fellow engineer who used to work for Monsanto, and he invented one of the sweeteners, and had dementia. So many times we're dealing with high level executives, doctors, lawyers, all kinds of people. And then I can see where the family members like, how do I respect a person while pretending like this person's on Alabama beaches? Well, we had a gentleman, and he was an exec, high level exec. And if I can guarantee you, at his stage of dementia, if his wife presented him with an agenda for the meeting, he would have been more frustrated than if we just allowed him to be present in who he was at his stage and enjoy his day.
Hmm.
We cannot take somebody back to who they were. We can only honor that and bring them forward in the most respectful way
Hmm.
possible. And that's the hard part, is that we're remembering who they were instead of engaging who they are now. But this is the biggest level of frustration that people will bring to the table and bring before you when they're having these conflicts. And so it's like, what do you want to create in your experience? And so then we have to change. But I bet, because I told you I was a little nervous, what is like the biggest thing getting to somebody to do the yes and, or what's your pro tip? You kind of mentioned it, but some pro tips to help us get over ourselves and just embrace what's before us.
Right. I think when you're doing this in a lot of times when we offer these, it's working with other caregivers. So you are with a group of individuals that are really walking your walk, right? They are also caring for a loved one. And so I think it's also just with any group, you have to scaffold so that people feel comfortable. Like you said, if you hear the word that you're going to have any sort of improv or even just communicating in front of others, that's a
Oh
huge
yeah.
deal. And so we always start even with just nonverbal, because actually as a caregiver, learning how to be more effective with non-verbally speaking, showing with our face, with our body, because that alone can communicate to your loved one living with dementia, as well as reading others. So we start off where individuals don't even really have to speak at first, so
Okay, that's good to know.
yeah, we layer on skills, and it's really a mixture of, we're learning tools and strategies, and then we're practicing and playing. We have opportunities
Okay.
for laughing. So it's a real mixture. And this program, I'm really actually excited that you brought this up. So pre-COVID, we had this 4-week caregiver intervention, and we were running that. And then really after COVID, that sort of died off, and we had all of our other programming, but we've brought this back, and it's actually being studied by Wash U. So we have this 4-week intervention that's been studied. We've gotten through a couple of cohorts, and we're moving on to our last group. But it really is this mixture of like the application, the learning, a small group setting, where we're really just trying to allow people, because what we realize is people need to practice the skills, like you said.
Yes.
They have to, see what they feel like, and it has to be over a course of more than one time. Like we can give a presentation and teach these skills, and people can receive and take away something. But I think when you are in a small group setting, when you are able to like actually play and start seeing, oh, I am creative, I can think outside the box. It's really amazing what people will come up with and how much they are willing to share, and it's very powerful. I think it's that those dynamics of sort of scaffolding the exercises, keeping it small, and having people that are really in your shared experience is what enables people to do the work. And also following those guidelines that I brought up. Like if we are
Right.
really having each other's back, making each other look good, really listening, being present, getting out of our head, it happens, right? That's what is the success of these guidelines. So yeah.
That's really wonderful. What are some of the people who participated in your workshops, have they come back and then offered you how it went for them when they tried these techniques?
Yeah, well, fortunately, WashU is doing loads of research for me. So I get lots and lots of feedback. So they are
Great.
doing interviews, they're doing loads of tests. And I think some of the skills, what we've seen is caregiver burden decrease.
Good.
Caregivers feel they have more efficacy, so they feel like they have tools. A lot of them are talking about just having more ability to be present.
Good.
That's a skill that I feel like people are really, that's resonating with them. Yes, and you keep hearing me say that, but that is a tool that all the caregivers, that is in their tool belt, and that is one that I think they use the most, as well as just focusing on that nonverbal communication, because I think you can really, it's amazing how much you can communicate without saying a word. Less can be more. Simplicity can be very helpful, and language changes. And so we need to sort of change with those language changes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is good because I agree with you. People do need, it's just like with anything. When you apply your mind to learning and understanding, then it's not as scary. But these are tools that you can actually learn. You don't have to be a professor, you don't have to be an actor or an actress. I've told Anne Marie I have two 5-year-olds who love to play pretend. And so I like to play pretend with them because they have so much fun in their imaginary world, and we have fun together when we're pretending. And so it's something that can be used with young children and then bring it back in a more appropriate, mature way with the person that you're working with. Now, Anne Marie, what is the best way to connect with you so that people can kind of see what you've got going on and maybe even get into a workshop?
Yeah, yes. So we have a website, so projectpresent.org. Um,
Okay.
Also email projectpresentstl at gmail.com. And then you can also call at 314-749-8302. And then we're also on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. So we got lots of ways to get connected. But yeah, our services are, open to all. They are, we try to provide free services to folks. So yeah, we'd love to have anyone that wants to get more information get connected.
Wonderful. And I am going to put those in the show notes for those who are driving and listening or not able to write things down. I'm going to have that for you. And I cannot thank you enough for bringing this forward to us so that we can try to do better and to take our time and slow down, and probably going to see a lot of benefit to these tips and tools that you've given us. And I like the two words, yes, and. Yes. Oh my goodness. We definitely need to get those shirts from the store. And I think it's going to be good for us to go into the kitchen and get a pen and paper. Maybe we'll find your keys in there. Let's sit at the table while I find these things. And then all of a sudden the de-escalation happens. But it was really just two words. Yes. Yes, I hear you. Let's do
Mhm.
this next. And so that is easy for somebody to remember. I always support caregivers in my podcast. I have from the beginning. I've been a caregiver and I've been a care receiver. And so I just know how important it is to strengthen and encourage our caregivers. So, from your experience, what caregivership trip would you like to share today?
Yeah, now I think I'd like to, you did my yes and, which I think, but I also just,
I'm
when
sorry.
we, no, no, I'm glad. Now I get to do another one. I have a few
Oh,
rolling through.
good. Good.
I think a big one is, I think as a caregiver, it can be very stressful and we don't always have loads of time. A real big piece is self-compassion, self-care. And
Amen
so
on
I
that.
do a lot of breathing exercises. So with any caregivers I work with, because it really takes like 30 seconds there's all sorts of different breathing exercises. And people are like, nope, that doesn't work for me. That means you haven't found the right one. And I will help you find a breathing exercise because I truly feel it's one of the fastest ways to get you from that stressful, agitated place. In 30 seconds, you can bring yourself down to a little bit more calm. And I think we operate better as humans when we're not up in this place, but when we can be more calm. So I think for a caregiver, finding breathing, taking nice deep breaths. It would be a huge tool that I would love for them to use just to help themselves and just make sure that you're being kind to yourself and treating yourself as you would a friend. I always say to caregivers, we are so hard on ourselves and what we're doing.
Yes.
What if you were talking to your friend and your friend was you, right? What would you be saying to them? And let me tell you, we would be so kind and so supportive and so generous. So I really, yeah, I'd like to stress both of those things. So breathing and treat yourself like you would treat a friend.
And Anne Marie, I was on your website and it looked like you had a video about breathing. Is that right?
Oh, yes, yes, there are breathing videos there. So you can check those out too.
Something so simple and it can trick your body into a whole different state of relaxation and bring you down into a notch where you can actually function again. So
Mhm.
I thank you so much for being here with me today and sharing this valuable information with my listeners. And I wish you tons more success. Oh, that's funny. More. Oh, never mind. Anne Marie Mohr, project present, not for profit. And please go to her website to look at some of the things that we've talked about today. I will have her contact information in the show notes. I thank you for what you're doing for caregivers and for those who have dementia so that they can live their best life at any stage and not feel like they're less than. That's not what anybody wants to feel like. We're not asking for memory issues. These things happen and we have to accept it for what it is. So thank you for that dignity and that respect that you're offering patients and those who have unfortunately found them in this place. So thanks again for being with us. Listeners, please stay tuned to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers for more education. Thank you for joining me today. Are you ready to learn more? Go to seniorsupportstrategies.com. As always, I value the time you spend with me.